Chapter 54:20. Yao Guang won again. It was too unbelievable. Everyone was stunned. Yao Guang had been beaten up by Lin Xian. Everyone thought that Yao Guang had lost and had no chance to turn the tables. But now, Yao Guang had evolved into a true primal chaos physique and defeated Chao Tianxing and Zhong Lingxiu. Yao Guang and Lin Xian had swept through the 8 desolations. Now, Yao Guang only needed to defeat Lin Xian. That would be enough to prove that Yao Guang was the champion. Could Yao Guang, who had broken through, defeat Lin Xian? Everyone was looking forward to it. The people from the Divine Union frowned. A true primal chaos physique coupled with Yao Guang's divine ability was terrifying to the extreme. The people from the Z government laughed. That was great. They finally saw hope. Just like that, Yao Guang had trampled Lin Wuti under his feet. Lin Xian opened his eyes as well. Terrifying rays of light shot out from his eyes. He stood up. I didn't expect you to be able to break through and obtain a new primal chaos physique. This is really beyond my expectations. But since I can defeat you once, I can defeat you a second time. So, are you ready to die? Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, shocking everyone. Yao Guang had already obtained a primal chaos physique, but Lin Wuti was still so confident. Was this the belief of being invincible? Yao Guang snorted coldly. You're too confident. My physique has already surpassed your 9-yang divine physique. Also, I have other divine abilities, so you're no match for me. Let me show you what it means to have the power to split the heavens and earth. Yao Guang's figure flashed as he charged forward. He used the primal chaos divine fist, and the terrifying power shattered the heavens and earth. It was as if he could turn the universe upside down. Everyone was shocked. Lin Xian was also shocked. He had to admit that Yao Guang was really strong, but he was also terrifying. Not only did he have divine fire, but he also had terrifying demonic qi. The demon god's fist turned into a black mountain that surged forward. The two collided, shaking the heavens and earth. Lin Xian was actually pushed back. His blood and qi roiled. He could feel that Yao Guang's primal chaos physique was much more terrifying than Han Tian's. How is it? Lin Wuti, do you see this? You're no match for me now. I'll make you kneel. Yao Guang laughed heartily. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he walked over. Lin Wuti was actually injured. It was unbelievable. The spectators were shocked to see this. Chao Tianxing and the innate physique also frowned. Lin Xian coldly snorted. Me? Defeated? You think too much. I was able to kill Han Tian before, and now I can kill you again. Guang's primal chaos physique. He erupted with an extremely terrifying light and rushed out. He unleashed an unstoppable power and instantly killed his way out. Yao Guang howled angrily as he unleashed another primal chaos divine fist. However, this time he was sent flying. The bones in both of his hands were broken, and he was vomiting blood. The surrounding people were also shocked. Lin Wuti's power was too strong. His invincible power was enough to sweep through everything. Damn it. Look at my heaven-splitting, earth-splitting power. Yao Guang's broken body healed, and he charged over again. The two peerless powers clashed in the air. Every strike was earth-shattering. The two collided. They were evenly matched. They were too strong. Yao Guang's expression was ugly. He couldn't kill Yao Guang after breaking through to the primal chaos physique. Damn it, I don't believe it. Behind him, countless black vortexes appeared, and terrifying divine abilities rushed out one after another. There was the Gu family's Void Divine ability, the Yi family's Immortal King Divine ability, the Golden Crow clan's Flame Divine ability, the Destiny clan's Gemini Divine ability. All kinds of divine abilities appeared one after another, all of them attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared angrily and swept his body in all directions. At the same time, he used the Great Emperor's inheritance to the extreme. Demon God Fist, Demon God Seal, Demon God Finger, Demon Overture. All kinds of Great Emperor's ultimate techniques flew out. A reincarnation eye appeared in the sky, the heavenly path of reincarnation, and a giant hand descended from the sky. In the reincarnation tunnel, a shield appeared under the ground to defend. The two fought and divine abilities were released. Everyone was dumbfounded. Lin Xian sneered. Unfortunately, you are still suppressed by me. Indeed. The divine abilities he released were too powerful. They formed their own style. Although Yao Guang was terrifying, he had swallowed different divine abilities. It wasn't that easy to combine them. As they fought, Yao Guang was pushed back again. One of his arms was cut off and a crack appeared on his body. Damn it! Creation of heaven and earth. Bloodline divine axe. His soul burst out completely. His hands gathered together, and a heaven-splitting axe appeared. He slashed forward. A large pitch-black crack appeared on the extreme Tao world. This strike was capable of shattering everything. Lin Xian snorted and took out the heavens battle map. A terrifying aura turned into a power that could shock the heavens and the earth as it charged towards the destruction divine axe. The two collided again. The heavens battle map rotated. The battle intent inside burst out and blocked the power of creation of heaven and earth. He sneered. It's useless. Your axe is useless against me. At the same time, a figure appeared behind Lin Xian. It was a demonic shadow. As soon as he appeared, he had a disdainful aura that swept in all directions. At this time, the extreme path world also shook violently, as if it wanted to suppress this demonic shadow. The demonic shadow roared at the sky, and a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. After a strike, he disappeared. This strike pierced through Yao Guang's body. The light-shaking realm cultivators had been smashed to pieces. Lin Xian's expression also changed. He was suppressed by the extreme path world. He was shocked. This demonic shadow already had Emperor's might? It was unbelievable. The three extreme path weapons in the sky were also surprised. Was that the Demon Emperor? This kid summoned the Demon Emperor's phantom. Could it be that he cultivated the illusion demon scripture? The destruction battle spear gasped and frowned. How could it be this kind of cultivation technique? This kid had too many secrets. They couldn't see through him. Gossip also shook his head slightly. However, even if it was the illusion demon scripture, he couldn't appear in the extreme path world. He got it. Our suppression. Indeed, Lin Xian obviously felt that it would be difficult to condense the demonic shadow again. This extreme path world was really terrifying. However, even if he didn't condense the demonic shadow, he was confident that he could win this battle. A biting cold light burst out from his eyes as he stared ahead. Yao Guang's expression became incomparably ugly. His soul had been shattered. The others were also surprised. Did Yao Guang have any more trump cards? He shouldn't have. He had used many divine abilities, but he couldn't do anything to Lin Wuti. There was no other way. Lin Xian had mastered too many divine abilities. The Emperor's divine abilities, the reincarnation eye, the divine physique and the terrifying heavens battle map. Each of them was a top-tier divine ability. Yao Guang was completely suppressed. Who would have thought that the demonic heaven-devouring art would be suppressed one day? The Emperor back then probably wouldn't have believed it. Chapter 54:21. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They felt that there was no hope for Yao Guang. The people from the Purple Mansion sect gritted their teeth. Damn it! Was he still at a disadvantage? This Lin Wuti was actually so powerful. Lin Xian snorted coldly. What other trump cards do you have? If you don't, then you've lost this battle. He walked forward. Lost. No. I can't lose. Yao Guang gritted his teeth. He must become the champion. Obtain the great emperor's treasure. That way no one would be his opponent after he obtained it. And now, in the extreme Tao world, Lin Xian couldn't use his extreme Tao weapon. He couldn't summon the great dragon sword spirit either. This was his best chance. Once he went out, he wouldn't have the chance to kill his opponent. But now, it gave him a headache because he couldn't defeat his opponent. In his mind, Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor Foundation's face was gloomy. He wanted to possess Lin Xian's body before, but now it seemed that the chances were getting slimmer and slimmer. At this moment, Yao Guang transmitted his voice, Ninth Firmament, give me a bit of your soul. Let me swallow it, and I'll increase my strength to suppress him. After we go out, I'll definitely help you take over his soul. Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor was stunned. What did you say? You want to swallow me? He was almost anxious. Yao Guang said, I'll only swallow a bit of your soul, not all of it. If you want something in return, you have to give something in return. Otherwise, I can only settle for second place. Besides, even if I become the champion, the great emperor's treasure will be shared between the two of us. Don't you want to do anything? Yao Guang was also anxious now because he felt that he really didn't have much of a way. Ninth Firmament Quasi-Emperor's face was gloomy. Yao Guang said, "Don't think too much. He's coming over. I don't have a chance." "Fine, I'll believe you this time." For the treasure left behind by the great emperor, he was going all out. He was originally a remnant soul, but now he had to give a bit of it to Yao Guang. He cut off a part of himself and threw it out. A black vortex appeared in Yao Guang's mind and swallowed his opponent in an instant. Lin Xian had already walked over. He held the heavens battle map in his hand and was ready to kill his opponent. The surrounding people all sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed like the battle was over. The people of the Z government were also in despair. Was there no hope left for them? However, at this moment, Yao Guang opened his eyes. Frightening stars flickered in his eyes, and the 9 heavens formed behind him. He directly swept through the entire area. Lin Xian was pushed back by this force. His blood and qi roiled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding people were also shocked. What was going on? Why do I feel like the aura of a light-shaking realm cultivator has changed again? Heavens! Could it be that he was hiding his strength? Impossible. Some people shook their heads frantically. Given a light-shaking realm cultivator's style, there was no way that they would hide for so long. In other words, his strength had instantly erupted again. Damn it, how did he do it? The people from the Divine Union were also going crazy. The dark red divine dragon, Yin Ruyu, and Morong Qingqing all became nervous again. Lin Xian was actually injured. What was that aura just now? Up in the sky, Big Brother Annihilation frowned. This aura? Lin Xian's expression also changed. This aura was somewhat familiar to him. He seemed to have seen it before, and he carefully thought about it in his mind. At this moment, Yao Guang, who was in front of him, sneered. "Want to kill me? Do you think that's possible?" The chaotic aura on his body condensed again. The chaotic body could split heaven and earth, and the void under his feet collapsed. Behind him, the phantom of the 9 heavens appeared. It seemed to be able to suppress everything. When these two forces appeared, they were really too powerful. Lin Xian used his Rinnegan to check carefully, and then he gasped. Wasn't this the power of the 9 heavens quasi-emperor? How could he use it? It shouldn't be. The 9 heavens quasi-emperor was a quasi-emperor, and he would be greatly suppressed here. One had to know that he couldn't even summon the demonic shadow. Unless there was another situation where Yao Guang had devoured the 9 heavens quasi-emperor. When he thought of this possibility, he gasped. How terrifying was the 9 heavens quasi-emperor's strength to devour him. Boom! A violent rumbling sound was heard as the 9 heavens came crashing down. Lin Xian used the heavens battle diagram to resist, but he was still knocked back, and his blood and qi churned. At this moment, Yao Guang attacked again, and the chaos split heaven and earth. The bloodline divine axe resisted, and the heavens battle diagram. The 9 heavens pressed down on Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the 6 realms to reincarnation, and 6 illusory realms resisted. But in an instant, the power of the 9 heavens collapsed. It was too powerful. This was the power of a quasi-emperor. Although a little of it was devoured by Yao Guang, its power was still unparalleled. Not good, Brother Xian is in danger. Morong Qingqing's face turned pale. Yen Ruyu's pupil shrank. Why did this feel like the quasi-emperor she saw in the Yuhua immortal dynasty? The Yao Guang's methods were too terrifying. The situation was reversed, and Lin Xian was suppressed again. Even Chao Tiansheng and the Born Dao Aptitude were surprised. They had never seen such power when they fought with the Yao Guang before. The 9 heavens broke the 6 realms of reincarnation and suppressed the yin-yang diagram. It even suppressed Lin Xian's physique. The Yao Guang sneered. He blocked the bloodline divine axe and the heavens battle diagram. Then he walked over. He stretched out his finger, and the power of the void appeared on it. Lin Xian, do you know how powerful I am now? Can you still compete with me now? Kneel at my feet obediently. You will never be a match for me. The 9 heavens continued to crush, and stars flickered above. That was the power of the 9 heavens. Lin Xian's 9 young divine physique was shattered. He roared at the sky, and demonic qi swept out, as if he had turned into a demon god. However, it seemed that he could not break through the 9 heavens. Damn it, the power of a quasi-emperor. It was so powerful. Previously, the Yao Guang had devoured the chaos physique, so Lin Xian was not afraid at all, because he had defeated the chaos physique before. But this time, the Yao Guang had devoured the power of a quasi-emperor. Although it was only a little, it had completely surpassed the power of the Saint Realm. Lin Xian had met the 9 heavens quasi-emperor before, and he was a very terrifying existence. Back then, he had used the corpse of a quasi-emperor to fight against him. But now he was unable to use this method here. Damn it, am I going to lose? Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he could not help but use the sword world. If he really could not, he would activate the sword world at all costs. However, this was a threat to Lin Xian. Firstly, there were extreme weapons in the sky. The Hellfire Dragon had said that it was best not to let the extreme weapons discover this world. Moreover, Yao Guang might have the 9 heavens quasi-emperor by her side. If a quasi-emperor entered the sword world, he would not be able to investigate the situation. Therefore, Lin Xian roared at the sky. He did not activate the sword world. He was prepared to use his own power to shatter the 9 heavens. The sword intent on his body continued to erupt. It was as if it was going to break through the sky. Yao Guang sneered. It's useless, Lin Wudi, don't resist. Because you can't escape. Chapter 54:22. Yao Guang was overjoyed. Was this the power of a quasi-emperor? It had only devoured a little, yet it was so powerful. 9 heavens quasi-emperor also smiled. Although his foundation was damaged this time, he felt that it was worth it for the emperor's treasure, and to possess Lin Xian. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They all felt sad for Lin Xian. They didn't expect that Lin Wudi would lose at the last moment. I haven't lost yet. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and roared. His eyes shone with a shocking light. Haven't lost? Stupid thing, recognize reality. Yao Guang snorted. I won't lose until the last moment. The light in Lin Xian's eyes became more and more terrifying. I haven't tasted defeat since I started fighting. I'm invincible. I'm the invincible great sage? Lin Xian roared at the sky. Boom boom. The sword qi in his body rumbled, and Lin Xian also let out a series of dragon roars. It's useless. Yao Guang sneered. You can't use it here. You're greatly suppressed, so you can die. He didn't plan to give his opponent any more chances. He formed a seal with both hands, and the 9 heavens suddenly exploded. The stars in the heavens flickered as if they could crush everything. The bones in Lin Xian's body crackled. He had suffered a huge impact. He roared at the sky, unstoppable. I'm a dragon. When he fought against Chao Tiansheng, he used that unstoppable power. Now he finally used it again, and it was even stronger. Lin Xian turned into a weapon last time. He became one with the sword like a peerless divine sword that tore through everything. It was broken. It was fast but not broken. This time he turned into a dragon. His 9 young divine body changed. He turned into a dragon. Dragon scales grew on Lin Xian's body, his limbs turned into dragon claws, and a tail grew on his back. With a roar, Lin Xian turned into a true dragon. Roar. An earth-shattering sound rang out, causing everyone's scalps to go numb. The people from the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty were all stunned. Damn it, how could he have become a dragon? What right does he have to become one of our noble dragons? They roared crazily in disbelief. The dark red divine dragon also jumped out. A true dragon. Heavens, he had really become a dragon. He was too excited. The others were even more dumbfounded. They realized that this was not an illusion. Lin Xian seemed to have really turned into a divine dragon. It roared between heaven and earth. What kind of divine ability was this? Even Yao Guang was stunned. He didn't dare to believe it, but he quickly let out a cold harumph. No matter what divine ability you have, you won't be able to escape. Be suppressed. The 9 heavens descended, suppressing everything. However, a wave of the dragon claw tore one of the heavens apart. Lin Xian faced the sky and roared. The divine dragon swung its tail like a divine sword, and pierced through another layer of the sky. The 9 heavens shook violently as if it would shatter at any moment. What terrifying power! Countless people were shocked. The pupils of the Emperor race elders constricted. Chao Tianxing and the Khanate Constitution were even more stunned. Yao Guang cried out in surprise. This was impossible. He knew how terrifying the power of the 9 heavens was. Now it was easily torn apart. What exactly was this? The extreme Dao weapon in the sky was also stunned. The treasure of life cried out in surprise. Did he transform into a dragon? The destructive spear was also surprised. Could it be that he had become a divine dragon? The black tortoise shook his head. The 8 trigrams appeared behind him and slowly rotated. The heaven's secrets are unpredictable. The aura on his body is very mysterious. However, this should be a method of using the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Without using the Great Dragon Sword Soul, he could use the invincible power to the greatest extent. This little guy was not ordinary. The corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. After Lin Xian transformed into a divine dragon, he swept through the 9 heavens and tore it apart. Yao Guang spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. His face was pale and his eyes were blank. I don't believe it. In his mind, 9 heavens quasi-emperor was also shocked. Damn it, I should avoid him for now. He's too strange. You want me to escape? Damn it, you think I'm afraid of him? Yao Guang roared crazily. He had swallowed so many experts and even a part of the quasi-emperor's soul. Now he wanted to escape? He couldn't stand it. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed the terrifying bloodline axe. With his other hand, he condensed the 9 heavens phantom again. The two of them directly attacked. Lin Xian roared, and the divine dragon swept through the 8 trigrams. At the same time, the heavens battle map in the sky turned into a page of the heavenly book and crazily slashed out. Even the 9 heavens were split open. Lin Xian attacked the bloodline axe. The dragon claw grabbed the bloodline axe, and cracks appeared on it. Then the dragon tail slammed into Yao Guang's body. Yao Guang's body instantly split open. He screamed. A pair of dragon claws grabbed at his soul. A light appeared in his soul, and at the same time, a shrill voice sounded. Crush the jade pendant. I'm not satisfied. Yao Guang went crazy. A terrifying vortex appeared in his soul. He wanted to swallow Lin Xian directly. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Sword chi pierced through and hit the vortex, causing it to shake nonstop. Your demonic heaven-devouring technique wants to swallow me? Ridiculous. Stupid. The giant dragon rolled and crushed the black vortex. Yao Guang's broken body turned into a bloody mist. At this moment, the 9 heavens quasi-emperor couldn't take it anymore. He used a wisp of his power to crush the jade pendant. Yao Guang turned into white light and disappeared. A terrifying dragon roar resounded through the sky. In the sky, only Lin Xian's figure was left. He turned into the only one. Did Yao Guang lose? The spectators were shocked. They couldn't believe it. Even the terrifying Yao Guang was defeated. Damn it. The people from the Purple Mansion felt their vision darken. They were about to faint. Their best chance was gone. The people from Mount Eternal had cold expressions. The people from the 10,000 Dragons Court and the Golden Crow tribe were gnashing their teeth. Their great enemy, Lin Xian, had actually won the championship? They couldn't accept it. The people from the Divine Union were also stunned. Had he won? Had Boss Lin won? Ha ha ha, that's great. Some of the older generation figures sighed. As expected of the invincible great sage, Lin Wuyi was too strong. At this moment, countless gazes fell on Lin Xian. They sighed, envied, gnashed their teeth, and hated him. All kinds of emotions were present. However, none of this affected Lin Xian. Lin Xian was like a dragon, stepping on the wind and clouds. One of his eyes turned into the cycle of reincarnation, looking down on the world. Who else wants to fight me? A loud and clear voice rang out. The sky and earth were silent. No one dared to fight. Then I will be the champion of this dragon transformation battle. Who doesn't agree? No one disagreed, because all the opponents had been defeated by Lin Xian. No one was his match. Seeing this, Lin Xian snorted coldly. The dragon scales on his body slowly disappeared. In the next moment, he turned into his human form. His face was incomparably pale. There wasn't much energy left in his body. Transforming into a dragon this time had consumed most of his energy. However, the effect was still very good. He had defeated Yao Guang and won the championship. Chapter 54-23. Lin Xian defeated all the experts and became number 1. He stood there and made countless people look up to him. At this moment, everyone was shocked. The 3 extreme weapons in the sky also flew down. Black Tortoise announced loudly. Since no one dared to fight again, Lin Xian would be number 1 in this dragon transformation battle. The announcement of the extreme weapons shocked countless people. Next were the top 10 rankings. Yao Guangjing lost to Lin Xian, so he was ranked 2nd. As for the 3rd and 4th, Chao Tianxing and Zhong Lingxiu with the Born Taoism aptitude would fight again. It was also a shocking battle. In the end, Chao Tianxing won by 1 move and became number 3. Zhong Lingxiu was ranked 4th. 5th was Murong Qingcheng, the first emissary of Mount Eternal, who was only ranked 6th. This made his face darken terrifyingly. The people of Mount Eternal outside were also gnashing their teeth. Damn Lin Wudi. All of this was because of him. If it wasn't for him, the championship would have been theirs. 7th was the dog-headed Taoist. 8th was Xiaoying. 9th was Burning Incense. Black Rising. 10th. At this point, the top 10 rankings were all out. These 10 people, their names would be engraved on the Divine Monument, making countless people want to go there. Inheritance for tens of thousands of years. Not only that, the top 10 would all receive rewards. As for what the rewards were, they were all looking forward to it. Lin Xian was even more enviable, because Lin Xian would receive the treasure left behind by the great emperor. What was it? Lin Xian also took a deep breath. His eyes were burning with passion. What was the great emperor's treasure? Although he had the great emperor's ancient scripture, he didn't mind having one more. The array in the sky flickered. Black Tortoise waved his hand and the array disappeared. The people outside sighed. They could no longer see the situation inside the extreme Dao Valley. Inside the extreme Dao Valley, 10 people stood there. Black Tortoise waved his hand again, and a heavenly diagram appeared in the sky. The extreme Dao heavenly diagram. At the same time, the power of heaven and earth in the extreme Dao Valley boiled. He said, "The 9 of you can cultivate here and absorb the power of heaven and earth. It can increase your cultivation. Comprehending the extreme Dao heavenly diagram can strengthen your great Dao. You only have 10 days to cultivate here. Make good use of it." What terrifying power! Xiaoying and the others were shocked. Their eyes were red. Although it was only 10 days, their strength would be able to reach another level. Burning Incense and the others quickly sat down. Murong Qingcheng also took a deep breath. She looked at Lin Xian. She knew that Lin Xian should have a better opportunity. As expected, the 10th emissary was gnashing his teeth in anger. Yao Guang also stared fixedly at Lin Xian. Black Tortoise looked at Lin Xian and said, "Young man, come with us." As he spoke, an 8 trigrams image directly enveloped Lin Xian, and then disappeared. Damn it! The first emissary roared, wishing he could shatter the heavens. However, it was useless. The light-shaking realm cultivators were also grinding their teeth. Damn it, I have to break through again. My strength is still not enough. He turned his head and stared at the people around him. They were all super geniuses. The people around him also felt their scalps go numb. The Born Dao aptitude cultivator snorted coldly. "I advise you not to do this. Otherwise you will die miserably." As a Born Dao aptitude cultivator, she could feel the extreme aura around her. If anyone dared to make a move, they would probably be suppressed immediately. Therefore, she was not worried that the light-shaking realm cultivators would make a move. In Yao Guang's mind, the 9 firmaments quasi-emperor also said, "Don't be rash. If you lose this time, you can find another chance in the future." Yao Guang was unwilling. She asked, "What do you think the Earth Emperor left behind?" The 9 firmaments quasi-emperor sighed. He did not know. Not only Yao Guang, but even Chao Tianxing, Zhong Lingxiu, and the others were curious. What exactly did the emperor leave behind? After Lin Xian was enveloped by the 8 trigrams image, he flew to an unknown place. When he stopped, He found that the surroundings were vast and misty. There was an extreme Dao gate in front of him, emitting a mysterious aura. He looked at the 3 extreme Dao weapons. Should he go in? The Aquarius of Life smiled. Young man, congratulations. You have become the champion of the dragon transformation battle. You will receive the treasure left behind by the emperor. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. What was that fiery light in his eyes? It was hard to say what it was, but we have to confirm your identity first. The destructive spear walked over, and a terrifying aura enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression changed. Seniors, are you going to attack me? He was facing a great enemy. If these extreme Dao weapons attacked him, he would not be able to defeat them. The black tortoise waved its hand, and the 8 trigrams image directly enveloped Lin Xian. At the same time, Lin Xian heard a voice in his ear. Little guy, don't worry. We won't harm you. We just want to test you. Lin Xian was puzzled. Test what? In the next moment, he saw the 8 trigrams image change, as if it had turned into a mysterious scene. A mysterious aura descended from the sky. It was even more terrifying than the great path of the born Dao aptitude. It was more than 100 times more terrifying. What was this? Lin Xian was completely stunned. On the other side of the sky, a ball of flame appeared, burning there. Lin Xian had never seen such a flame. His 9 sons' divine fire was not worth mentioning in front of it. Was that the sun? Even 100 suns could not compare to that flame. Lin Xian was shocked. What kind of flame was that? Lin Xian walked toward the flame in front of him. His divine body was threatened, and the 9 suns' divine fire on his body was suppressed. It was as if it was going to be extinguished. This scene frightened him. Then he looked at the mysterious aura descending. He flew over, but in the next moment he was struck by lightning. He spat out blood and retreated. His pupils contracted. What a terrifying power. That mysterious aura seemed to be able to kill him. What kind of aura was that? Just as he was puzzled, the 8 trigrams image flew out, and all the terrifying scenes disappeared. The black tortoise looked at him with a smile. The destructive spear no longer released killing intent. Senior, what was going on? What was that aura and flame? Lin Xian was completely puzzled. However, the black tortoise said, very well, you are the one we have been waiting for. Seniors, can you explain in detail? Lin Xian still did not understand. The Aquarius of Life flew over, and a powerful life aura appeared on its body, instantly enveloping Lin Xian. Lin Xian instantly recovered to his peak state. He breathed a sigh of relief, and his breathing became much calmer. The Aquarius of Life said, no rush, I will tell you slowly. How did you feel about the mysterious aura you saw? Lin Xian said, it's very strong, 100 times stronger than the born Dao aptitude. The Aquarius of Life said, it's more than 100 times. It's really much stronger. Are you curious about what it is? That's right. Lin Xian nodded. Please tell me. Chapter 54-24. Lin Xian was extremely curious about this mysterious aura that had appeared. He asked, Senior, what is that? The Aquarius of Life said in a deep voice, it's immortal aura. Immortal aura. Lin Xian was completely stunned. Are there immortals in this world? He really couldn't believe it. The black tortoise said, the aura I'm talking about is immortal aura, but what you see is just an illusion formed by the 8 trigrams. But I can tell you that immortal aura really exists. It was just an illusion, but it was already so terrifying. Lin Xian was shocked. At the same time, he was even more shocked that immortal aura really existed. How can one have immortal aura? Do emperors have immortal aura? Where can one have real immortal aura? Lin Xian asked a series of questions. He was really curious now. Because no one could answer these questions. Even the Hellfire Dragon and the others probably didn't know. The few extreme weapons in front of him had existed for tens of thousands of years. They definitely knew. You can't cultivate immortal aura, so don't think about immortal aura. The destructive spear said coldly. Lin Xian was stunned. He couldn't cultivate? Had his path been cut off? This was the most fatal blow to him. The black tortoise laughed. That immortal aura illusion injured you as soon as you got close. It means that you're not fated with immortal aura. But aren't you curious? What's the other flame? Lin Xian was also stunned. He asked, what's that flame? He could feel that the flame wasn't any weaker than immortal aura. What was it? Immortal fire? The Aquarius of Life said. It's not immortal fire, it's godly fire. Godly fire? Lin Xian was shocked. What's the difference? He guessed that it should represent two different powers. After all, he had seen this test before when he was cultivating. However, the Aquarius of Life said, not only are they two different powers, they're two different paths. After reaching this step, you're destined to surpass the Saint Realm and become a boundary emperor, or even a great emperor. So you're qualified to know this. Today, it's time to tell you in advance, because you'll soon face this choice. The 8 trigrams Black Tortoise's voice slowly rang out. Lin Xian took a deep breath and listened carefully. You know that quasi-emperors are existences that surpass the Saint Realm. Then do you know what kind of power the great sage cultivated above his peak? Lin Xian shook his head. The precious bottle of life said. It was precisely these two types of power, either cultivating immortal energy, or walking the immortal Tao. He could either cultivate the divine fire or walk the Tao. Immortal? God. Lin Xian was shocked. Were there really immortals? I don't know the specifics, but I can tell you. Great emperors were able to condense these two types of power. He could either condense immortal qi or condense divine flame. You can be called great emperor, god, or immortal. However, they should not be true gods and immortals. We are generally known as the land god or the mortal immortal. Noticing Lin Xian's confusion, the destructive halberd continued. They possess power that surpassed the mortal realm, but they still remained in the mortal realm. They were unable to leave or ascend, which was why they were given such a title. Lin Xian was completely stunned. The great emperor did not belong to the human world. Suddenly, Lin Xian thought of the magnetism quasi-emperor. Back then, he was in the magnetism cave dwelling. The first time he met a quasi-emperor, the other party was holding a scroll with a line of words carved on it. The path to immortality was cut off. No fate with the emperor, and immortality was difficult. At that time, Lin Xian didn't understand what it meant. But now, after hearing these things from the few extreme weapons, he understood. He understood. The immortal path was cut off and the divine gate was closed. These great emperors were stuck in the mortal world, unable to ascend. Why is this happening? Were there no great emperors who succeeded? He looked at the extreme weapons. Those extreme weapons shook their heads. You don't have to think about these things now. You should think about how to become a quasi-emperor first. Lin Xian took a deep breath. That was true. If he could not even become a quasi-emperor, then he was even less qualified to become a great emperor. Thus, he was not qualified to study the immortal path. Moreover, these extreme weapons said that he could not become an immortal, only a god. Regarding this, Lin Xian asked curiously, immortals and gods, were there any essential differences? There was no essential difference. They did not belong to the mortal realm. It was just that too many things had happened over the endless years. As a result, there were too many grudges between the two sides, which led to the current predicament. Lin Xian seemed to understand something after hearing this. He asked, were the two sides opposing each other? Were they enemies? The destruction spear snorted. There was no need for the two to oppose each other. It was just that in this universe, some people were too despicable. They thought that they had grasped all the power. They mercilessly suppressed those who were different from them. They were our enemies. Lin Xian seemed to understand. The Aquarius of Life said, some things are too shocking for you now. Maybe you can't understand it yet. However, as your strength increases, once you break through the sage realm and become a quasi-emperor or great emperor, those people will come and find you. At that time, those people will find you, and you will know who your real enemy is. Only after breaking through the sage realm and becoming a quasi-emperor would one be qualified to be their enemy. Lin Xian was also shocked. What kind of powerhouses would that be? Could they all be quasi-emperors or great emperors? However, a few extreme weapons now said that Lin Xian was weak, and there was no need for him to know. This made Lin Xian very depressed. By the way, Lin Xian remembered something. He said that not only did creatures come out of a forbidden land like Mount Eternal, But they also called it the human sovereign. What was that? Was it an existence that surpassed the great emperor? Lin Xian had also experienced the power of the human sovereign. They were immortal and indestructible existences. Hearing this, the destruction spear sneered. Human sovereign? Were they worthy? However, the Aquarius of life said, ignore him. It has a grudge with the human sovereign. Let me put it this way. He is called the human sovereign, which means that he belongs to this world. As I said before, the earth does not belong to the human world. You should be able to tell who is superior and who is inferior. Understood. Lin Xian nodded. The great emperor stayed in the human world because the immortal path was broken, and the divine gate was closed. Although this sovereign was strong, he was only called the human sovereign. Therefore Lin Xian understood. By the way, 3 seniors, may I know what treasure the great emperor left for me? Lin Xian was still looking forward to this. He knew some very ancient secrets. These secrets were probably not known to those sacred masters and living fossils. Only those emperor clans that had produced great emperors would know these secrets. However, they would definitely not tell others. The path you are going to take next is the divine path. Therefore, they left you a divine fire seed. With this divine fire seed, when you break through to become a quasi-emperor, there will be no bottleneck. As long as you accumulate enough power, you can break through. Chapter 54-25. No bottleneck? Lin Xian was completely dumbfounded. One had to know that this was an extremely shocking thing. Those sacred lords were at the peak of the great sage realm. They had been stuck in this realm for thousands of years, and couldn't even take another step forward in their entire lives. The main reason was that there was a bottleneck. It was like a natural chasm that blocked their path of martial arts, and made them regret it for the rest of their lives. But now the other party told him that there was no bottleneck. In other words, as long as Lin Xian accumulated enough power, he would definitely be able to break through and become a quasi-emperor. Lin Xian was really overjoyed. This treasure could be said to be supreme, and it was what he needed the most. Although he was only a great sage now, he was already preparing to become a quasi-emperor. Alright, enter the extreme Tao gate and fuse with the divine fire seed. Hearing the words of the life Aquarius, Lin Xian nodded and took a deep breath. He walked forward and entered. Soon he entered the extreme Tao gate. The 3 extreme Tao weapons started to discuss again. He didn't even have the slightest chance of fusing with immortal qi. It was really strange. Look at the aura on his body, even I can't see through it. There must be some other reason. Brother Annihilation said. But no matter what, his growth will add another powerful force to our lineup. One had to know that he was the successor of the Great Dragon. Once he became a quasi-emperor or a great emperor, his combat power would probably surpass everything. Thinking of this, the 3 extreme Tao weapons were also looking forward to it. However, the Black Tortoise still said, even so, let's see if he can fuse with the divine fire seed first. The divine fire seed was left behind by the previous great emperors. It was very precious, but it didn't mean that anyone could fuse with it. See if it has the fate of a great emperor. If not, you're weak and you'll probably be instantly enveloped by the aura of the divine fire and turned into ashes. After Lin Xian entered, he felt as if he had arrived at an ancient hall. The surroundings were extremely dark, and there was only a ray of light in front of him. It was a ball of flame. It was very small, but it was extremely bright. The aura on it was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Was this the divine fire seed? From the looks of it, this was what he wanted to fuse with. He walked forward, but as soon as he got close, he felt his body split apart. No matter how difficult it is, I must get it. Lin Xian roared, pushing his divine body to the limit. At the same time, a demon god armor appeared on his body. The Taiji diagram also appeared. It was the same for the 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Xian went all out. He walked forward and slowly approached the seat of divine fire. At the last moment, Lin Xian even used his all-conquering power. All of this was his capital to become the champion. It was the power that allowed him to come here. Finally, he stood in front of the divine flame seed. Lin Xian's face was pale, and his body was covered with injuries. This process was extremely difficult, but he smiled. He smiled with incomparable joy. In the next moment, he waved his hand and grabbed the divine flame seed. A terrifying force rushed into his body. Lin Xian's internal organs were severely injured. He roared angrily. Previously, when he fused with the great dragon sword soul, he was also hovering between life and death. Now he was about to face an even more terrifying scene. This was a risk. If he succeeded, his future would be smooth sailing. If he failed, he would be reduced to ashes. Lin Xian gambled on his invincible belief and martial arts path. Fight. He was enveloped by endless divine fire. He let out a painful roar. However, his body was like a rock. He did not move at all. He was using his powerful will to resist. Outside, in the extreme path valley, everyone was also comprehending the sky map with all their might and absorbing the power of heaven and earth. The born Taoism aptitude person gave up on absorbing the power of heaven and earth and directly comprehended the sky map. The great path in her body was even more terrifying. The others felt their scalps go numb when they felt it. She was an extremely terrifying woman. Morong Qingqing absorbed the power of heaven and earth while comprehending the sky map. His strength was also steadily increasing. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Morong Qingqing and the other 8 people were instantly teleported out by a force. When they appeared again, they were already outside the extreme path realm. When they came out, the people from the various families and sects were waiting outside. When they saw the people inside come out, they were also delighted. The powerhouses of the Divine Union, the Phoenix Clan, the Tao Yi sect, and Mount Eternal all walked over and asked one after another, "How was it?" When they felt the aura of these geniuses become stronger, they were also delighted. Damn it, he only got second place this time. Yao Guang gritted his teeth. Although his strength had increased, he was still unwilling to accept it. Said the people of the Z government. "Don't worry, they won't let Lin Wudi continue to be so arrogant. I think it's time to make a move." A trace of cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. On the other side, the first envoy of Mount Eternal returned. He said, "I failed." The other envoys also had ugly expressions. There was a trace of fear in their eyes. This time, they had been sent by the mortal supremes. Their goal was to get first place, but now they had failed. An old man from Mount Eternal said, "It's not your fault. It's all Lin Wudi's fault." He now knew that Lin Wudi had eliminated nearly half of them. He had even killed the second envoy. This was a heavy blow to them. Therefore, they had to take revenge. When Lin Wudi came out, it would be the time of his death. That's right, the first envoy's eyes also burst with cold killing intent. Although we failed, we can still assassinate him. Although he got first place and obtained the treasure of the Emperor Lord, he didn't deserve it. That belongs to our Mount Eternal. The people from Mount Eternal were ready to hunt and snatch the Emperor Lord's treasure from Lin Xian's hands. The people from the Phoenix Clan were very happy. The people from the Tao Yi sect were also very satisfied. This result was already very good for them, but the people from the Divine Union were looking forward to it. Boss Lin was still inside. Who knew what kind of treasure he would get? The others all looked over as well. That's right. What Lin Xian had obtained was an even greater opportunity. What exactly was the treasure of the Emperor Lord? However, they waited for another 10 days and found that no one came out. After a month, still no one came out. What the hell was going on? Lin Wudi still hadn't come out. Could it be that he got the inheritance of the Emperor Lord? Someone exclaimed. When this was said, the eyes of the others turned red. Lin Wudi already had the inheritance of the Emperor Lord. If he got it, how terrifying would his strength be? It shouldn't be possible. Some people shook their heads. Some people said, but if it wasn't the inheritance of the Emperor Lord, then it would be impossible. Chapter 54-26. No one knew whether Lin Xian had obtained the great emperor's inheritance or not. They waited patiently. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Lin Xian still hadn't come out, and some people were already in despair. Let's go. The remote antiquity families left. They had originally come to watch a lively battle. Now that the competition had ended and half a year had passed, there was no need for them to wait any longer. In an instant, more than half of the people had left. Another month had passed, and most of the people had left. However, there were still some people who hadn't left. For example, the Gu family, the 10,000 Dragon Empire, the Z Mansion, and the Eternal Mountain. The Divine Union, the Phoenix Tribe, and the Demon Emperor Mountain hadn't left. These people were all waiting for Lin Xian. Some people were worried about Lin Xian's safety, while others were gnashing their teeth and preparing to attack Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Even the Gu family was getting impatient. This time, they had suffered heavy losses. Not only had they not obtained any benefits, but Gu Feng had also died inside. How could their family tolerate the death of a great emperor's successor? In fact, they still didn't know who had done it. They had suspected Lin Xian, but they had also suspected Light-Shaking Realm. They couldn't wait any longer. They looked at the Z Mansion and stared at Yao Guang. Did you kill Gu Feng when you moved? Yao Guang's face darkened. Nonsense. The Purple Mansion Master also said, you didn't see it. How could you say that? The Gu family elder said, who else could it be besides you? Even if you weren't, you had to go through the Gu family's experts. Otherwise, how could you know the Void Divine ability? These people were full of killing intent. Since they couldn't find out who the enemy was, they could only target Yao Guang. Yao Guang snorted coldly. I'm not interested in that trash Gu Feng. Who are you calling trash? The Gu family elder was also angry. He took a step forward and a murderous intent appeared on his body. Why? Do you want to fight? The Z Mansion Master also stood up. Yao Guang and Xiaoying sneered. They were both in the top 10. If they really fought, they weren't afraid of the other party. Take down Yao Guang. The Gu family elder was furious and took out the Void Mirror. On the other side, the members of the Hundun clan were also filled with killing intent. How dare you devour the primal chaos body? We will use your head to refine the soul sky. Do you want to die? Yao Guang was also furious. He had lost to Lin Xian instead of becoming the champion. He was already incomparably furious. Since the two of them wanted to kill him, he would gladly oblige. Kill. With a furious roar, he charged towards the Hundun clan. The chaotic body was unleashed, sweeping across the world. The experts of the Hundun tribe kept coughing up blood. Damn it, the other party was using their power to attack them. Revenge. These people rushed over. The people from the Gu family also charged over. The Void Finger directly struck down. Those people felt their scalps go numb. The Purple Mansion's Mansion Lord took out the Dragon Cauldron to block the attack. It was also a sovereign weapon with a mysterious origin. The collision between the two created a shocking force. All of a sudden, the three major forces actually clashed together. The momentum was vast. The surrounding heavens collapsed and Earth split apart. The others all backed up, all of them fleeing. There was nothing they could do about it. The power of an extreme-grade weapon had already been displayed. They simply couldn't withstand it. The extreme-grade world also started to shake violently. From inside, the destruction spear flew out and roared. Scram! Otherwise we will ruthlessly attack and kill all of you. At the same time, the 8 trigrams diagram and the treasure bottle of life also flew out. The power of the three of them kept rising as if they were about to fully recover. Sensing this scene, the others' faces changed. The people from Mount Eternal waved their hands and left first. They just had to send people to keep an eye on that guy. They quickly left. The 10,000 Dragon Court, the Golden Crow clan, and the Twins of Destiny also left one after another. They didn't dare to stay here any longer. The people from the Gu family gritted their teeth. Fine, let's change the battlefield. They soared into the sky and flew into the distance. The people from the Purple Mansion sneered. They weren't afraid of you. They also flew over. The people from the Hundun clan also followed. For a moment, the extreme-grade world was completely silent. The Gu family, the Purple Mansion, and the Hundun clan came to another place to fight. The others didn't dare to come near the extreme-grade world. They could only wait in the distance. The people from the Divine Union also landed at the side and began to wait patiently. In the blink of an eye, another year had passed. Many things had happened in this year. Those who returned from the extreme-grade world had improved. Some people had an epiphany and their strength had broken through. Some people had accepted the extreme-grade valley. and their strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They became more and more famous, and their strength became stronger and stronger. However, the news about Lin Xian had completely disappeared. It was as if he had never appeared again. There was another thing that was even more shocking. The news of Gu Feng's death had spread to the Gu family. The people from the Gu family roared wildly and attacked the Purple Mansion to take down the light-shaking realm. The Purple Mansion also displayed their strength and fought back. In the end, the Gu family returned without merit. On the other side, the Hundun clan was more miserable. They were attacked by the people from the Purple Mansion and suffered heavy injuries. They had to close their doors. This series of events shocked everyone. The following battles would probably become more and more intense. They guessed that someone who surpassed the Saint Realm would appear very soon. A true great emperor would appear in this golden era. And this process would be incomparably tragic. Sure enough, some other sects also clashed. Even the emperor clans were fighting. Obviously, some people were anxious. They were eager to fight for a great emperor. Of course, no one would forget about Lin Xian. For example, the people from Mount Eternal had their eyes fixed on the extreme grade realm. As long as Lin Xian came out, they would know immediately and take action. Another year passed. It was already the 3rd year. Most of the people from the Divine Union had already returned. After all, they belonged to different sects and clans. Furthermore, Bai Susu was the great elder of the Divine Union, and she was the one who asked everyone to return. She felt that Lin Xian shouldn't be in any danger. He should be receiving some kind of treasure. It would just take a long time. Therefore, there wasn't a need for too many people to stay here. On the 4th year, Murong Qingcheng, the dark red divine dragon, and Yen Ruyu all frowned. Why wasn't he out yet? Could there have been an accident? At this moment, the black tortoise 8 trigrams flew out from the extreme grade realm. It said, "You guys are Lin Wudi's friends, right? Don't worry, he's very safe inside. However, we can't say when he'll come out. Why don't you guys go back first? He'll look for you guys when he comes out." Murong Qingcheng and the others discussed and felt that the extreme grade realm weapon was right. Therefore they nodded. "All right, thank you, senior. I hope you can take care of big brother Xian." The black tortoise nodded. "Don't worry, we have high hopes for that little guy." With the assurance of the extreme grade realm weapon, Murong Qingcheng and the others were completely at ease. Therefore they also discussed for a while and returned. For a moment, the outside of the extreme grade realm was completely quiet. No one stayed. Chapter 54:27. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years had passed. It had been 5 years since the end of the dragon transformation battle. At this moment, Lin Xian was sitting cross-legged in a magical place in the extreme path world. His body was surrounded by terrifying mysterious flames, and there was a flame rune between his eyebrows that kept jumping. There was a flame seed in his body that was fusing with him. Suddenly, Lin Xian opened his eyes and furrowed his brows tightly. The fusion this time was really too difficult. Although only 5 years had passed, he probably only managed to fuse a little bit. After all, this was a divine fire seed. Once the fusion was completed, there would be no bottleneck for him to become a quasi-emperor. He guessed that the fusion would take at least 500 years. It might even take longer than that. This was something that the extreme path weapon did not tell him before. In fact, although the extreme path weapon did not tell him, in the eyes of Brother Annihilation and the others, having a divine fire seed was already a heaven-defying opportunity. Not to mention 500 years, even if it took 5,000 years, there would still be people who would be willing to fuse there. After all, this was their only chance. However, Lin Xian did not think so. He could not afford to waste 500 years. Therefore, he decided to use some of his trump cards. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian took out something from the small world. The Hourglass of Time. Previously, he had obtained the Hourglass of Time in the Azura ruins on the 18th level of Hell. Although the Azura clan was destroyed, it must have had something to do with time. Therefore, Lin Xian had once returned to 10 years ago through the Azura ruins. He stayed there for a while, and then returned. He helped the Azura ruins and completed some things. In the end, he was given 2 hourglasses of time that contained the power of time. Lin Xian had not used them before. Now, in order to fuse with the divine fire seed, Lin Xian was ready to use one. He opened the hourglass of time, and a mysterious light appeared around Lin Xian. In the next moment he disappeared. He had returned to 90,000 years ago. His surroundings were dark and silent. Lin Xian looked around. He was stunned. He was actually still in this mysterious space. It should still be the extreme Dao world. It seemed like the extreme Dao world had already existed 90,000 years ago. Lin Xian took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged. Even if he had to spend 500 years, Lin Xian would choose to spend it in the past. Thus, when he returned to the real world, not much time had passed. Just like that. This gave him an advantage. The time required to fuse with the seed of divine fire was simply too long. In the blink of an eye, 300 years had passed. For the past 300 years, Lin Xian had been quietly cultivating here. However, one day 300 years later, a cry of surprise came from outside. It turned out that 90,000 years ago, there was also a battle of dragonization here. And the champion was a young man from the dragons. His figure was tall and straight, and his face was handsome. His body exuded an aura that could sweep through everything. He was truly too strong. He had defeated everyone in the world and obtained first place in this dragon transformation battle. Beside him, there was a woman with an extremely beautiful face. She had dragon scales on her body. She was also a proud daughter of the dragons. In this dragon transformation battle, there were actually 2 people from the dragons in the top 10. It was really unbelievable. A young man had obtained first place. As for that woman, she had obtained 9th place. It was also a very terrifying result. That was great. Brother Xiaotian had finally obtained first place. This woman was called Long Yu. And the brother Xiaotian she spoke of was the handsome young man from the dragons in front of her. He was also the first person in this battle. The following situation was very similar to Lin Xian's. The extreme Dao weapon took Long Xiaotian away alone, while the others cultivated in the extreme Dao valley. They wondered what kind of opportunity Brother Xiaotian would obtain. They were filled with anticipation. The extreme Dao weapon brought Long Xiaotian to a mysterious place. Surrounding them, there was an extreme Dao gate in front of them. Long Xiaotian was extremely excited as he walked towards the extreme Dao gate. At the same time, inside the extreme Dao gate, Lin Xian opened his eyes. Did someone come in? Sensing this scene, he immediately frowned. No, he couldn't let anyone in. Because he came from 90,000 years in the future. If someone came in, something unexpected would happen. Thinking of this, he shouted coldly and slapped out with his palm. An extremely terrifying sound came from inside, as if a divine sword was sweeping in all directions. Just as Long Xiaotian wanted to enter, he was attacked. His pupils constricted as he waved his dragon claw and slapped on the attack. In the next moment he was forced out. What was going on? The extreme Dao weapon was also stunned. What happened inside? Long Xiaotian frowned. He looked at the extreme Dao weapon around him and said, "Senior, I want to know why is it attacking me?" His face was a little cold. What? The extreme Dao weapon was also stunned. Could it be that something had happened inside? They were really shocked. Lin Xian, who was inside, was also surprised. This person was really not ordinary. He had a powerful dragon aura on him. He had used a powerful attack just now, but it only forced the other party to retreat. The other party was not injured at all. As expected of the first person in the dragon transformation battle from 90,000 years ago, he was indeed strong. Moreover, he was now in the dark and was very mysterious. If he really wanted to fight openly, he might not be able to suppress the other party. However, he could not let the other party in. Thinking of this, Lin Xian frowned. An extremely sharp light burst out from his eyes. He mobilized the power of the divine fire seed and shot out a trace of flame. Outside, the extreme Dao weapon was still puzzled. They were about to investigate. Suddenly, a trace of flame flew out from the extreme Dao gate. It danced in the air and turned into a word. Get lost. This word was imprinted in the void just like that. Long Xiaotian's face instantly darkened. His eyes released a biting cold killing intent. And he was so angry that he trembled. As a top genius, how could he allow others to slap his face like this? Even if the other party was a supreme existence, it was not allowed. Those extreme Tao weapons were also stunned. When they sensed that the flame was a divine fire seed, their pupils constricted. Could it be that the divine fire seed was rejecting Long Xiaotian? Thinking of this, they sighed. Although previously, they thought that Long Xiaotian was a top genius of the dragons, and once he grew up, he might become a great emperor. Moreover, he could also become one of them. But now it seemed that it was a pity that the divine fire seed did not agree. They could only say that he was not fated, and that they would send him back to the extreme Tao Valley. Long Xiaotian's face completely darkened, and his body kept trembling. At the same time, an even more terrifying killing intent appeared in his eyes. Not fated? Ha ha ha. What a joke. His gaze directly pierced through the extreme Tao gate, as if he wanted to see everything clearly. No matter who you are, you slapped my face today. When I become a great emperor in the future, I will definitely return it 10 times or 100 times. Chapter 54-28. Seeing Dragon Xiaotian leave just like that, the extreme Tao weapons were stunned, but they didn't say anything in the end. They could only sigh. Looking at the extreme Tao gate, the few extreme Tao weapons didn't enter. In the extreme Tao Valley, everyone was absorbing the power of heaven and earth. They were curious about what Dragon Xiaotian had obtained. Suddenly, they saw the void in the distance break open, and a figure descended from the sky. Everyone looked up. The next moment they were stunned. It was Long Xiaotian. What was going on? Was he back again? In the valley, Long Yu also stood up with a look of surprise. Brother Xiaotian, what's wrong? Dragon Xiaotian's killing intent was terrifyingly cold as he stared down. The experts below also felt their scalps go numb. Although they had all successfully entered the top 10, none of them were Dragon Xiaotian's match. Even if they joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. At this moment, seeing the killing intent on him, they all retreated in fear. Long Yu was even more shocked. What had happened? Dragon Xiaotian gritted his teeth. The extreme Tao realm slapped my face. I will not live under the same sky as them. When I become an emperor in the future, I will definitely make them pay the price. Let's go. With a wave of his sleeve, he took Long Yu and soared into the sky, disappearing. Gone. Long Xiaotian actually left, and what happened? Why was Dragon Xiaotian so angry? Why had the extreme Tao realm slapped his face? The other geniuses were very curious. However, they couldn't find out at all. Lin Xian didn't know about these things. He had heard Dragon Xiaotian's threat, but he sneered and didn't care. So what if Dragon Xiaotian had threatened him? He didn't belong to this era. He was someone from 90,000 years in the future. As for the dragons, he had killed the Dragon Prince 90,000 years in the future. Did he care about the other experts of the dragons? However, this person was really extraordinary. He was very strong. Thinking about it, he should be an unparalleled expert who had swept the world. When he returned, he would ask the destructive battle spear if there was such a person 90,000 years ago. Lin Xian didn't think too much about it. Instead, he slowly closed his eyes. He continued to cultivate. Finally, after 500 years, Lin Xian was able to perfectly fuse with the seed of God fire. Next, as long as he gathered enough energy, he would be able to become a quasi-emperor. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He roared at the sky. At the same time, the hourglass waved, and Lin Xian returned to reality. When he returned to 90,000 years in the future, the hourglass cracked and turned into powder. The smoke vanished into thin air. Nothing else? Lin Xian sighed. He only had one time hourglass left, so he had to keep it safe. Because this was too miraculous. The power of time was the most mysterious power. He thought of the Light Clan, and wondered what had caused the Light Clan to be annihilated. Who was the one who did it? Lin Xian didn't think too much about it. He checked his own condition. Soon, a smile appeared on Lin Xian's face because the situation was good. This was out of his expectations. After fusing with the divine fire seed, the power of Lin Xian's 9-yang divine fire increased. The power of his divine body also became stronger than before. His strength increased. More importantly, Lin Xian really felt that the shackles between heaven and earth no longer had any effect on him. He could successfully become a quasi-emperor. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had gathered enough energy to let the divine fire seed grow. Thinking of this, Lin Xian waved his hand and walked forward. Outside, the figure of the extreme Dao weapon was already gone. Because only 5 years had passed. It was too short. According to their speculation, it would take at least 500 years, or even 1,000 years. But on this day Lin Xian walked out. After coming out, he looked around and then roared at the sky. At this moment, the surroundings were shaken. Between heaven and earth, countless flames spread, and a mysterious and terrifying power descended into the extreme Dao world. The extreme Dao weapon was also stunned. Who was it? The destructive spear rose into the air. Was someone courting death? The treasure bottle of life said that no, this seemed to be Lin Xian's power. The black tortoise was shocked. It couldn't be 5 years. He came out. Could it be that he failed? They hurriedly flew over. They were extremely nervous. If he failed, it would be a huge blow to them, because it was extremely difficult to find a suitable person to fuse with the divine fire seed. In an instant, they arrived near the extreme Dao gate. Kid, did you fail? What's going on? Can you do it again? The black tortoise asked quickly. The treasure bottle of life said that I'll help you recover from your injuries. They looked at Lin Xian anxiously. Lin Xian was stunned. Then he smiled. Failed. How could that be? I succeeded. Seniors, please take a look. A mysterious flame rune appeared in between Lin Xian's eyebrows. He used the power of the divine fire seed, and his aura became extremely mysterious. Although it was only a seed now, it had already made Lin Xian mysterious and unpredictable. After the 3 extreme Dao weapons sensed it, they almost fell from the sky. Succeeded? That's impossible. Lin Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seniors, you have too little confidence in me. The black tortoise kept shaking his head. This wasn't a matter of confidence. Of course, we believe that you can succeed. But 5 years is too short. We estimated that you would only be able to come out after at least 500 to 1,000 years. We were already preparing for you to come out. But you came out in 5 years. We really thought that you failed. That's right, kid. How did you do it? How did you succeed in just 5 years? The black tortoise 8 trigrams was also extremely excited. The treasure bottle of life looked up at the sky. Could it be that this was really a rare genius that only appeared once in a million years? There was hope on our side. It turned out that the extreme Dao weapons estimated that the time would also be 500 years later. It was similar to Lin Xian's own speculation. However, these extreme Dao weapons didn't know that he had the hourglass of time. He had indeed experienced 500 years, but it was in the past, so it didn't affect the real world. Of course, Lin Xian didn't mention this. After all, he had defeated a genius back then. If these extreme Dao weapons knew about it, they might be angry. So he said, I didn't find it particularly difficult to fuse with it. The extreme Dao weapons were dumbfounded. Didn't find it particularly difficult? Heavens, this is a divine fire seed. Do you know what kind of existence it is? If the fusion was successful, there would be no cultivation bottleneck. Was it that simple? What a joke. They didn't believe it. However, Lin Xian did indeed come out in 5 years. They had no choice but to believe it. They could only accept that Lin Xian was a rare genius that only appeared once in a million years. You're too strange. The 8 trigrams kept shaking their heads. But kid, your coming out in 5 years really exceeded our expectations. Originally, we thought that after 500 years, we could still gather some resources for you to improve your strength by leaps and bounds. Chapter 54-29. Hearing the words of the extreme Dao weapons, Lin Xian was stunned. So there was such a thing. However, he didn't care anymore. Being able to reduce the time by 500 years was really important to him. As for the other opportunities, he would have to rely on himself to find them. Next, he prepared to leave. But before that, he had one more thing to ask. That was, who was the person he fought 90,000 years ago? He remembered that back then, he heard the discussion outside the extreme Dao gate. That person seemed to be called Long Xiaotian. So he asked, "Seniors, can I inquire about a person for you?" "Who was it?" Black Tortoise asked. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. "Who was Long Xiaotian? What was his status in the dragons?" Long Xiaotian. Hearing this name, the expressions of the three extreme Dao weapons changed. Black Tortoise sucked in a breath of cold air. "How are you going to inquire about him?" Lin Xian was stunned. Was this person very powerful? To be able to make the extreme Dao weapons so shocked. Could this person be? Lin Xian didn't dare to think about it anymore. Black Tortoise smiled bitterly. Of course Long Xiaotian was powerful. Dragons had a dragon emperor, who was the ancestor of the 10,000 Dragon dynasty. It was Long Xiaotian. What? Lin Xian was completely stunned. Long Xiaotian was the dragon emperor of the 10,000 Dragon dynasty. Lin Xian felt that his eyes were about to pop out. 90,000 years ago, he actually defeated a dragon emperor. He even told him to scram. Lin Xian felt that it was unbelievable. That was a great emperor. No wonder the other party was so angry that his entire body trembled. A person who had the potential to become a great emperor was directly slapped in the face. That feeling was definitely sour. Why did you mention this person? Destructive War also frowned. It seemed that this person's name made him very angry. Lin Xian said, "I killed the dragon prince of the 10,000 Dragon dynasty before. I didn't expect him to be the dragon emperor." This grudge was really deep. 90,000 years ago, he slapped the dragon emperor's face. 90,000 years later, he killed the dragon emperor's son. The seniors had a grudge with him. He felt that the aura of the three extreme Dao weapons was wrong. The Annihilation Spear said. Of course there was. The Aquarius of Life bitterly smiled and said, "This story started from 90,000 years ago. Back then, Long Xiaotian was also a top-notch genius. He became the champion of that dragon transformation battle. Back then, he also had the qualifications to enter the extreme Dao gate, but he didn't know what happened. When Long Xiaotian was stopped, the other party thought that we had slapped his face. Therefore he left angrily. Who would have thought that this Long Xiaotian would be so powerful? Later on, the other party had successfully become a great emperor. So he came to us for revenge." Hearing this, Lin Xian also became nervous. After all, this matter was caused by him. He asked, "What was the result? You guys didn't suffer any losses, right?" Destructive Battle Spear harumphed coldly. "Even though he has become a great emperor, he still can't kill us. However, in the later years, our extreme Dao world was completely sealed off and lived in seclusion. After the Dragon Emperor disappears, our extreme path world will open again. This could be considered a matter of the past." The three extreme grade weapons also sighed endlessly. Lin Xian's expression was extremely strange. Before the other party left, he had made an oath. If he wants to become a great emperor in the future, he will definitely take revenge 100-fold. The battle back then must have been extremely terrifying. This matter has nothing to do with you. You don't have to care. Besides, 90,000 years have passed. Even if you kill the Dragon Prince, the Dragon Emperor won't be able to threaten you. Nothing to do with me? Lin Xian smiled bitterly. This matter really had a lot to do with him. Of course, he couldn't say it out loud. Lin Xian took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Then he prepared to leave. This time, he had gained a lot. It made him extremely satisfied. After bidding farewell to the extreme Dao weapons, Lin Xian soared into the sky and left the extreme Dao world. He flew into the distance. I wonder how the outside world has changed in 5 years. Morong Qingqing and the others had seen the Black Tortoise 8 trigrams before, so they left. Right now Lin Xian had left by himself. After he left, the dark eye under the ground moved a little. Immediately, the news was sent to Mount Eternal. There were many people in Mount Eternal, and they were instantly enraged after hearing the news. The first emissary stood up and said coldly, "After 5 years, I've finally waited. Lin Wudi, your time of death has come. Everyone listen up. Follow me." The other attendants all stood up. The previous second emissary had fallen, leaving only 9 of them. However, this time the 9 of them would attack together. No matter how strong the other party was, so what? Could he defeat the 9 of them? They took the super teleportation array and quickly set off. In the next moment, 9 figures appeared on the endless ground. They quickly set up the array and waited. Not long after, a ray of light flew over and arrived at this space. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian's speed was very fast. The demon god wings on his back turned him into a bolt of black lightning. Suddenly he stopped. His brows furrowed tightly because he sensed that a black fog had appeared around him, shrouding the entire world. Inside, there was an extremely terrifying power. Boom! Lin Xian roared and punched out. A golden sun shone in all directions. However, the black mist didn't disperse at all. It directly enveloped the sun. The two of them were in a stalemate, turning into terrifying laws that tore the void apart. Lin Xian was cold. Who was it? Get out here. Someone actually dared to wait here to assassinate him. He was angry. Lin Wudi, you have a bad temper. However, it's time to settle the grudge from before. A cold voice rang out. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The first emissary, a defeated opponent, dared to come. He could easily defeat him before, let alone now that he had fused with the seed of divine fire. He had become stronger than before. Lin Xian didn't take the first emissary seriously at all. After the first emissary walked out, his face became extremely cold. Despicable fellow, how dare he look down on me? However, at this moment, a few more figures walked out of the black mist. What if we join in? A total of 9 emissaries appeared in the surroundings. They enveloped Lin Xian. Their killing intent swept across the world. Lin Xian's face darkened. The 9 of them attacked together. It seems that you've been waiting here for me. It's been hard on you. However, do you think that 9 of you are a match for me? There are no restrictions here. It's easy for me to kill you. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a terrifying light. That was indeed the case. He could use the sky-devouring jar now. It was half an emperor weapon. The third emissary sneered. We know that you have half an extreme-grade weapon. But so what? How much power do you have to revive it? Chapter 54:30. Mount Eternal had made ample preparations this time. Although they didn't have an extreme weapon, they had a supreme weapon. Mount Eternal had a human supreme, and his weapon was also very terrifying. At this moment, the 9 emissaries attacked together. They took out a weapon. It was a black pagoda that looked like a mountain peak. It seemed to be built according to the appearance of Mount Eternal. As soon as it appeared, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura, and the entire world shook violently. The demonic beasts, martial artists, and families in the nearby space were all shocked. They looked into the distance in horror. Damn it, what a terrifying aura. Who's attacking? Don't go out, don't investigate. Quickly seal the mountain gate and escape. These people were incomparably terrified. The indestructible pagoda shook gently, and suddenly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The void seemed to be mercilessly torn apart by a pair of heaven-sent hands. The terrifying crack enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. This power was really too strong. He didn't dare to be careless, and took out the heaven-devouring jar to block it. In front of him, a terrifying black vortex spread out and blocked the large crack. Half an extreme weapon. Heaven-devouring jar. The first emissary sneered after seeing it. But it's useless. I don't believe that you can fully revive the heaven-devouring jar with so much power on you. And the power we brought this time is enough to destroy your body and soul. They sneered again and again. Then they launched another attack. The sky was instantly pierced through, and a vast indestructible power rushed over. This attack was even more terrifying than the previous one. In the hands of these emissaries, a large amount of resources appeared. These resources were quickly being consumed to provide the power of the indestructible pagoda. The heaven-devouring jar was shaken by the attack, and the black vortex was also constantly shattering. Lin Xian retreated. It seemed that he could only protect himself. Seeing this scene, the 9 emissaries laughed out loud. The 10th emissary said, "Kid, how is it? Weren't you very arrogant before? You even dared to eliminate us. Now make your move." The 7th emissary gritted his teeth. Killing intent emerged in his heart. "Today, I'll kill you with my own hands. You still want to kill me? With just you guys? Lin Xian sneered. Kid, you still want to resist? You can't escape. This entire world has been sealed by us. Lin Xian laughed heartily. Who said I was going to escape? You bunch of stupid ants. Who told you that I don't have the strength to maintain the heaven-devouring jar? Do you know what my trump card is? You don't know anything. Yet you still dare to try and kill me. Today, I will let you feel despair. With that, Lin Xian activated the sword world, and the power inside flew out. The heaven-swallowing pot kept shaking, and released a terrifying light. The black vortex covered heaven and earth as if it could swallow heaven and earth. The moment this aura appeared, the surrounding 9 great emissaries were all stunned. Their pupils were saying, "Damn it, this is impossible. What kind of power was this? You actually brought so much power with you." They were all crazy. Stop him. Flustered and exasperated, these people attacked again. However, they still underestimated Lin Xian. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. The power of the heaven-devouring jar increased, and it blocked the indestructible pagoda. The two of them collided in the air. Lin Xian snorted coldly. How is it? Did you see that? My trump card is not something you can imagine. Damn it. The 7th emissary gritted his teeth. The 1st emissary also shouted angrily. Attack together and kill him. Although their indestructible pagoda was blocked, there were still 9 of them on their side. If the 9 of them worked together, it would be as easy as flipping their palms. Seeing the 9 of them rushing over, Lin Xian did not escape at all. Instead, he snorted coldly. The 9 of you have all been defeated by me, and you still have the qualifications to challenge me? He took a step forward, and the power in his body erupted. Monstrous flames swept in all directions. At the same time, the hell sword appeared in his hand. The terrifying sword chi swept across the 9 heavens. Kid, go to hell. The 7th emissary roared. He was the fastest to rush over. After arriving, he slashed down with his saber. This was the indestructible saber. It drew a black saber light that was 10,000 meters long and slashed down from the sky. Its power was even stronger than before. It was obvious that he had been cultivating hard for the past 5 years. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian sneered. Your saber technique is really too weak. As he spoke, he slashed out with his sword. The sword chi swept across with incomparable sharpness, and slashed at the 7th emissary's sword chi. It directly shattered the black saber light that was 10,000 miles long. Not only that, the sword hit the 7th emissary's long saber, causing him to vomit blood and retreat. One of his arms was covered with cracks. Damn it, how is this possible? How did you become so strong? He was really too shocked. After 5 years of hard cultivation, he thought that he already had the strength to resist Lin Xian. However, he was seriously injured as soon as they exchanged blows. Don't be careless, keep attacking. He was very powerful. The 3rd emissary also gritted his teeth. He also rushed over. Indestructible palm. A huge palm descended from the sky like the hand of the Grim Reaper, and enveloped Lin Xian. It had to be said that this move was really too powerful. The 3rd emissary was much stronger. Even the veteran divine ancestors couldn't resist this attack. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You're also an ant. As he spoke, he threw out a punch. After fusing with the divine fire seed, Lin Xian's divine body had become stronger than before. This punch was unparalleled. It directly pierced through the 3rd emissary's palm and tore him into pieces. Puff! The 3rd emissary was even more seriously injured. The other emissaries were stunned. How could there be such a terrifying person? His strength had grown in the past 5 years, and he was even stronger than them. Unable to withstand a single blow, Lin Xian snorted coldly, then threw out another punch. This punch enveloped the 10th emissary. The 10th emissary screamed and quickly retreated. He was as fast as lightning, but he was not faster than Lin Xian's fist. Boom! The 10th emissary was also shattered. He screamed and retreated. Before his body could heal, a pair of reincarnation eyes appeared in the sky. The reincarnation eyes shot out terrifying flames and enveloped the other party. It burned the other party's body. The 10th emissary screamed miserably. Damn it, hurry up and stop him. He felt that even though he had the power of indestructibility, his body was still severely injured. Even his foundation was almost damaged. Courting death. This was the first time he was angered. He slashed out with his sword, turning it into a hell crack and charging towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian also slashed out with his sword. The two collided. The first emissary was forced back, and his arm was chopped off. He was terrified. This was impossible. Although he had lost to Lin Xian before, he had only lost miserably after using all his means. It was not easy for Lin Xian to defeat him. But now, Lin Xian had injured him with a single slash. Had the gap between the two of them become so huge? What kind of great emperor treasure did Lin Xian obtain in the past 5 years? Hurry up and attack. He recovered his arm, roared angrily again and charged over. Chapter 54:31. After a series of frenzied attacks, the 9 emissaries' faces were somewhat pale. This time, it was time for him to die. The 7th emissary gritted his teeth. The other emissaries also harumphed coldly. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to block them. The crack in front of them slowly disappeared, and the last figure appeared. The emissaries laughed coldly, but their smiles quickly froze. Their expressions turned to horror. Impossible. He didn't die, and he wasn't injured. No, I don't believe it. I must be dreaming. These emissaries have all gone crazy. The first emissary's pupils constricted. After being struck by such a powerful attack, the other party was completely unharmed. What kind of physique did he have? Suddenly, the 7th light-shaking realm screamed because he had been pierced by a sword. He lowered his head to look at his wounded body, unable to believe it. The other envoys were also stunned. When they looked forward again, they saw that the envoys were all stunned. When they looked further, they discovered that the unharmed figure was slowly disappearing. Damn it, it was an illusion technique. We were caught in an illusion technique. Yes, it was an illusion technique. In that instant, it was extremely terrifying. It was extremely terrifying. Although Lin Xian was able to resist it, he was unable to do so. However, he didn't take it head-on. Because the 9 emissaries working together surpassed everything else. He used his most powerful movement technique to dodge, leaving behind an afterimage in his original position. At the same time, the Rinnegan in the sky also used an illusion technique. It took advantage of these people's arrogance and magnified it infinitely. It caused these people to fall into the illusion technique. Then, he suddenly appeared beside the 7th emissary, and pierced him with his sword. The 7th emissary screamed. He wanted to escape. Lin Xian wouldn't let him escape this time. Die. The great dragon sword spirit's power completely exploded. This was an indestructible power, enough to destroy everything. Even though the 7th emissary had undying and indestructible power, he couldn't resist at this moment. His life force was rapidly draining away. No. He screamed. The other emissaries' expressions changed drastically, and they quickly attacked. They attacked wildly, but Lin Xian used all of his techniques. Boundless sword chi surged from his body and attacked. At the same time, the 6 paths of reincarnation appeared. The yin-yang diagram also appeared. Now he was fighting against 8 emissaries. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the great dragon sword spirit roared once again, and a biting cold sword light and dragon shadow enveloped the opponent. In the next moment, Lin Xian retreated. The 7th emissary disappeared without a trace, turning into a pool of blood, falling from the sky. Was he dead? The surrounding people were dumbfounded. This was impossible. Old 7 was dead. No. The remaining emissaries were completely stunned. They had been so confident that they were the emissaries of Mount Eternal. They had the power of immortality. No matter how strong they were, the other party would not be able to kill them. However, the current situation was completely out of their expectations. The other party was actually able to completely annihilate them. Was the inextinguishable rune between 7th brother's eyebrows also useless? That abominable great dragon sword spirit. Its invincible power was actually so terrifying. They realized that they had underestimated the other party. Previously, Lin Xian had possessed an unbreakable power, But now Lin Xian was no match for him. However, in the extreme Dao world, the great dragon sword soul could not be sent out. Thus he didn't unleash his full power. They thought that this was all there was to it. Although it was strong, it was not impossible for them to stop it. However, now that they were out of the extreme Dao world, the power of the other party's great dragon sword soul had multiplied. He killed Old Seven with a single strike. How was it? Are you terrified? Are you in despair? Lin Xian sneered. Don't worry, there was more despair to come. The hell sword in Lin Xian's hand was surrounded by a dragon shadow. The power of the great dragon sword soul was quickly displayed by him. To deal with these immortal existences, one had to use an invincible power. Damn it! The first emissary gritted his teeth. They looked up at the sky, wanting to summon the inextinguishable pagoda. However, the heaven-swallowing jar blocked the inextinguishable pagoda. Damn it, they were too careless. If they knew this, they should have sent more experts. The first emissary said, "Don't panic. Everyone, use all your strength to activate the inextinguishable rune." As soon as he finished speaking, black runes flickered between the eyebrows of the 8 dead. It was incomparably mysterious. "Very good," the first emissary said. "Now use all your strength and don't hold back. Use the power of the inextinguishable rune." With a roar, he took the lead. The power of the inextinguishable rune spread all over his body. At the same time, his inextinguishable sword spirit attacked. Next, the surrounding people also attacked. Inextinguishable axe, inextinguishable spear, inextinguishable spear, inextinguishable hand, and all kinds of techniques were used. Lin Xian roared and transformed into a dragon. Dragon scales appeared on his body, and he bared his fangs and brandished his claws. He roared at the sky and swung his dragon claws. A Taiji diagram appeared and slammed forward. The 10th emissary's body was pierced by the yin-yang aura and immediately split in half. The 9th emissary was engulfed by Lin Xian's divine flames and turned into a bloody mist. Lin Xian waved his tail and turned it into a divine sword that pierced through the 6th emissary. As for the 5th emissary, he was crushed by Lin Xian's dragon claws. The 3rd emissary was even more miserable. Lin Xian's Rinnegan turned into the heavenly path and smashed him into dust. The 1st emissary was terrified. He retreated. Damn it! His opponent's dragon form had even defeated a light-shaking realm cultivator. Now that he had come out, the power of the great dragon sword spirit had increased, and the power of his dragon form was even more terrifying. Each of these moves had an indestructible power, and they were complemented by a variety of ultimate techniques and divine abilities. They couldn't resist at all. The 9 emissaries were like ants in front of them. They were like ants. His body was also penetrated by a single blow and he almost died. However, the other attendants weren't so lucky. 3 of the emissaries were completely killed by this attack. In addition to the death of the 7th emissary, they only had 5 emissaries left, and they had all suffered heavy injuries. The 5 of them retreated in fear. They summoned the indestructible tower back to defend the area around them. On the other side, Lin Xian didn't make a move. Although transforming into a dragon was terrifying, it also consumed a lot of energy. One had to know that the 10 great emissaries of Mount Eternal were all very terrifying. It was very difficult to kill such a person even if one used all their methods. Now that he could kill them in one move, it was enough to imagine how terrifying his power would be. The dragon scales on his body slowly disappeared, and his face was a little pale. At this time, the energy stored in the sword world began to provide him and fuse into his body. Lin Xian quickly recovered. Damn it, so many of them died. The 3rd emissary gritted his teeth. The 5th emissary also roared. He could only use such an attack once. He had no more energy left. Yes. The others also nodded frantically. Lin Xian snorted coldly. No more energy? He used Shadowless Heaven's net and the demon god's wings to instantly appear in front of the other party. The great dragon sword spirit appeared in his hand. The dragon-shaped sword shadow pierced through the 5th emissary. The sword chi above exploded and descended. Chapter 54:32. The 5th emissary fell just like that. The other emissaries saw Lin Xian standing in front of them, but they didn't dare to make a move. They retreated frantically. Damn it! Was that sword shadow the real great dragon sword soul? After sending it out, its power was actually so terrifying. Impossible. Damn it! Why did it turn out like this? The third emissary also went crazy. One had to know that they were all incomparably terrifying double champions. They had the inextinguishable runes, the power of the human sovereign. And they had also taken out the weapons of the human sovereign. Could they still not do anything to the other party? Was the other party really just a young man? They had all gone crazy. To be honest, their prediction was right. If it was before, even if Lin Xian had won the championship and had many unique skills, he would have been seriously injured by the 9 emissaries even if he didn't die. But unfortunately, they didn't expect that Lin Xian had fused with a divine fire seed. Although the divine fire seed didn't have much power now, it was left behind by the great emperor after all. After the fusion, Lin Xian's strength had increased in all aspects. In addition to the fusion time, it was 500 years. Although it was experienced 100,000 years ago, it had only been a few days since he returned to reality. But Lin Xian had experienced it in real life. His strength was definitely not something that could be imagined when he fought the dragon transformation battle. Therefore, it was normal for these emissaries to feel despair and collapse. Damn it! Could it be that he had already become a triple champion? The first emissary gritted his teeth. The only person who could defeat them so easily was probably the Triple Crown champion. What should they do? Should they escape? This time, they had joined forces. If they returned like this, the immortal sovereign would not let them off. The first emissary gritted his teeth. It seemed that he could only use that method. What method? The third emissary asked in surprise. Was there a way? Why didn't they know? The first emissary's face was cold. He didn't say anything, but the palms in his sleeves had already begun to form seals. As the first of the 10 emissaries, he had received a special order. This was given to him by the human sovereign before he came. That was, when necessary, he could sacrifice the other emissaries to launch a peerless attack. The first emissary knelt on the ground. After hearing this, his scalp went numb, and he was even terrified. It turned out that in the eyes of the human sovereign, they were just ants. It could be destroyed at any time. And the method was to leave the inextinguishable runes in their hearts. As long as the inextinguishable rune was activated, they would not be able to resist. The first emissary was also an ant in a cage, but it was still all right. Out of the 10 emissaries, he was the strongest, so he was considered to have been retained. Furthermore, this time around, he would personally take action. His palms formed a complicated seal. And then he suddenly closed his eyes. The inextinguishable rune at the center of his brows gave off an extremely terrifying radiance. Meanwhile, the expressions of the third emissary and the other survivors also changed. They could feel an unusual aura emanating from the rune between their eyebrows. What was this? A powerful secret technique? They all looked at the first envoy. However, in the next second they screamed in pain. Their faces were full of fear. The third emissary's pupils shrank. He felt as if the rune between his eyebrows had taken root and sprouted, instantly piercing into his soul. Absorb his life force. Their bodies quickly withered and turned into white bones. Even the white bones were about to shatter and scatter with the wind. The inextinguishable rune at the center of their eyebrows became brighter and brighter, as if it had turned into a black star that illuminated the world. Not only the third emissary, but the other emissaries who were still alive were the same. It could be said that other than the first emissary, the others were all going to die. No. Why are you treating us like this? How dare you kill us? Aren't you afraid of the wrath of the human sovereign? They roared crazily and stared at the first emissary. The first emissary did not dare to open his eyes. He closed his eyes and said, "This is your destiny. Accept it. You can't resist." Hearing this, the remaining emissaries fell into despair. They no longer resisted, because they also realized that the first emissary could not control the inextinguishable rune at all. This was the power of the human sovereign. They were unwilling to accept this. Had they become cannon fodder? With a scream, the emissaries completely died. The runes at the center of their eyebrows flew out. At the same time, the blood mist that drifted between heaven and earth of the emissaries who had died before also quickly condensed. Then, 8 runes flickered between heaven and earth. The inextinguishable pagoda grew in the air. The first emissary walked in and floated above the 9 heavens. 1 pagoda shook heaven and earth. 8 doors shook the world. The 8 black undying doors slowly formed into 8 pitch-black doors. It was as if they were connected to the area. Countless inextinguishable auras emerged from inside. After Lin Xian saw it, he frowned. Damn it, it couldn't be directly connected to Mount Eternal, right? He had a bad premonition in his heart. Although he was not afraid of these emissaries, he was still unable to contend against the human sovereign. Although the human sovereign belonged to the human world, and was not a great emperor, it represented the ultimate power of the human world. He was still only a saint. Although he was powerful, he was still not the Triple Crown champion. Not to mention the ultimate power of the human world. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly. His figure swayed, and he slashed out with his sword. Heaven and earth shook violently, but Lin Xian was shaken out. He frowned tightly. He was actually unable to break through this space. It was useless, Lin Wudi. Don't even think about escaping. This was the legendary 8 Gates Heaven Lock formation. It could even lock up heaven and earth, let alone you. Moreover, this formation was connected to the power of Mount Eternal. It would never disappear. Until you died. So slowly experience what despair was. The first emissary finally laughed proudly. He could not defeat Lin Wudi. However, the power of Mount Eternal was not something that the other party could imagine. 8 Gates Heaven Lock formation. Lin Xian's expression became incomparably cold. He shouted coldly, "Break!" He roared towards the sky. The heaven-devouring jar erupted with power and directly attacked. This was half an extreme weapon. The power that erupted at this moment was truly terrifying. However, the inextinguishable pagoda in the sky directly suppressed it, and once again resisted the extreme weapon. At the same time, 8 black hands emerged from the 8 pitch-black doors. Each hand was 1,000 meters long, and was abnormally strange. There was an extremely terrifying power on top of it, and a low voice sounded. 8 Gate Soul Lock. One hand directly covered Lin Xian's head and sealed his soul. The other hands grabbed Lin Xian's limbs and completely sealed his body. Not only did it seal his soul, but it also sealed his body and his qi and blood. The laws that sealed it locked everything. Lin Xian was completely suppressed. The first emissary looked down at this scene and snorted coldly. Chapter 54-33. Lin Xian felt as if he had fallen into darkness. It was as if his soul had been swallowed by the darkness. He had never experienced such a feeling before. This formation was really too terrifying. Among the formations he had seen, the only one that could contend against the formation was the defensive formation set up by the Azure Emperor of the Spirit Realm. The means set up by this human sovereign was actually comparable to that of a great emperor. It was really too terrifying. Just what realm had the human sovereign reached? Lin Xian felt that it might even surpass the quasi-emperor. Damn it, he had underestimated the human sovereign. Lin Xian was now unable to enter the sword world. Unable to activate the quasi-emperor corpse. He even felt that his power had been sealed. Could it be that he was really going to be suppressed here forever? Lin Xian roared angrily. Impossible. He roared towards the sky, and dragon scales appeared on his body once again. His entire person transformed into a divine dragon. He roared towards the sky. The 8 palms also shook violently, and the entire world was completely shattered. Large cracks spread in all directions, and the mansions of some families and sects were turned into nothingness. Fortunately, those people had fled far away. However, when they saw this scene from afar, they were also terrified. Damn it, who exactly was this peerless battle? The news of this battle quickly spread out. It couldn't be helped. This battle was so shocking that it was as if 2 gods were fighting. It's useless. Don't resist. You can't resist at all. This power is not something you can resist. The number 1 emissary in the sky snorted coldly. At the same time, he shouted coldly. The power of a human sovereign was so terrifying that no one could resist it. Lin Xian didn't say anything, but his movements became faster and faster. After transforming into a divine dragon, he bared his fangs and brandished his claws, fighting against the 8 palms. He wanted to blast these 8 palms away. The sword chi on his body kept surging, wanting to destroy the palms. Every strike was like a million bolts of lightning striking down on the surface of the heavenly dragon mountain. It was too unbelievable. Although the number 1 emissary had such a strong defense. This was the great dragon sword chi. The number 1 emissary's face was also pale. Although the 8 palms didn't shatter with each attack, his chi and blood were still surging. Damn it, Lin Wudi was suppressed, but he still didn't give up. Blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Obviously, with his strength, it was not easy for him to preside over this formation. A similar flame appeared between Lin Xian's eyebrows. It was the seed of the divine flame. The seed of divine fire had a mysterious power. If it was in the past, Lin Xian would not have been able to turn the tables when faced with the array set up by the human sovereign. However, it was different now. Although Lin Xian was still unable to contend against a mortal sovereign, he would not be easily suppressed. With a roar, he brandished his dragon claws, tearing everything apart. He actually managed to push back a palm. Then Lin Xian's divine dragon tail whip contended with the other black palms. For a moment, there was a stalemate, and the first emissary was also forced to retreat. It was almost plucked from the sky. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. How could this be? He actually blocked it. I don't believe it. He roared like a madman and pushed with all his might. Because he knew that behind this was the power of the human sovereign. If he failed again, he would definitely die. It was even possible that he would turn into the 9th gate of indestructibility. Therefore, he had to go all out. The power of Mount Indestructibility, which was connected by 8 gates, and the supreme weapon in the sky. He had to contend against it. Lin Xian could only protect himself at the moment. He should not be able to rush out in a short period of time. However, this was already very good for him. Now the other party could not completely seal him. As long as he was given time, he would be able to rush out. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. Mount Indestructibility, wait for him to break through and become a quasi-emperor. He would definitely not forgive this immortal sovereign. News of such a shocking battle had long since spread throughout this place. However, no one dared to enter, and could only watch from afar. When they felt this power, their scalps went numb. At the same time, this news instantly spread to the other continents. That was the power of indestructibility. Mount Indestructibility was attacking someone. In the past 5 years, the appearance of Mount Indestructibility had long spread in all directions. Everyone knew that now that the power of indestructibility had appeared, who was it fighting against? Moreover, after such a long time, the power of indestructibility had not disappeared. This meant that the enemy had not retreated. Who could contend against Mount Indestructibility? They thought of several possibilities. However, they were not so sure. The other emperor clans were also shocked when they heard the news. They sent people to investigate. Although this place was not close to the extreme Dao world, it was still in the Serene Sky continent. Therefore, they guessed that it was most likely Lin Wudi. Had Lin Wudi come out? They were not sure. However, only Lin Wudi dared to challenge Mount Indestructibility. Moreover, Lin Wudi had previously eliminated several envoys from Mount Indestructibility. Mount Indestructibility had long wanted to kill him. After the people from the Divine Union received the news, their expressions also changed. Was Boss Lin in danger? Bai Susu hurriedly passed the news to Murong Qingqing and Yin Ruyu. After the two of them received the news, they immediately set off and headed over. The dark red divine dragon also brought some people over. Not only them, but the Z Mansion, 10,000 Dragon Court, and the Golden Crow tribe also knew. Many people sneered. Had Mount Indestructibility made a move? This was a good opportunity to kill the other party. The people from the 10,000 Dragon Court had cold killing intent in their eyes, as they brought along their extreme Dao weapons. They killed their way out. The Z Mansion also prepared to make a move. The Light Shaking Realm made a move. Xiao Ying and the Purple Mansion's Mansion Master also made a move. This time they had to kill Lin Wudi. In an instant, the wind and clouds gathered towards the serene sky continent once again. When these people arrived at the serene sky continent, they felt a terrifying aura. The power of an extreme Dao weapon was terrifying. It should be Lin Wudi. That was the power of the heaven-devouring jar. Mount Indestructibility could actually resist half an extreme Dao weapon. This was too terrifying. Who had made a move this time? They were incomparably shocked. Morong Qingqing and the others were worried. They quickly rushed over. Before they arrived, the two sides met and engaged in a huge battle. The people from the Divine Union still wanted to save that kid. Impossible. The people from the 10,000 Dragon Court sneered. The 10,000 Dragons diagram instantly charged out. Not good. The dark red Divine Dragon, and the others cried out in alarm. Fortunately, Yan Ryu also took out an extreme Dao weapon. A terrifying green lotus danced in the sky and bloomed. It blocked the attack. Morong Qingqing took out the desolate tower and charged forward. The 10,000 Dragon diagram shook, and its blood boiled. The elders of the dragons felt their scalps go numb. Two extreme Dao weapons. Damn it, why aren't you making a move? They knew that there were people nearby, and they were from the Z Mansion. The people from the Z Mansion walked out and sneered. The Purple Mansion's Mansion Master, Xiaoying, and the others activated the Dragon Cauldron together. Four extreme Dao weapons exploded at this moment. Chapter 5434. The four extreme weapons collided once again, causing a shocking destruction. But fortunately, they flew directly into the outer space. It caused the outer space to shatter continuously. The people on the Nether Sky continent heaved a sigh of relief. If they were to attack their land, it would probably cease to exist. Damn it, they were stopped. The dark red Divine Dragon gritted his teeth. Morong Qingqing said, "Restrain them." Now that Lin Xian was trapped, he should be able to fight. But if the 1,000 Dragon Court and Zifu joined in, it would be really dangerous. So no matter what, they had to restrain these two forces. At the same time, they were also looking forward to such a battle. It should alarm the extreme Dao world. If the three street weapons of the extreme Dao world wanted to help, that would be great. The people of the 1,000 Dragon Court were also worried. If the three street weapons flew out to help Lin Xian, they would have no advantage. Yao Guang frowned. She had to think of a way to end this quickly. Nine Firmament Quasi-Emperor said, "Don't worry, those three fellows won't come." "How can you be so sure?" Yao Guang frowned. Nine Firmament said, "Of course I'm sure, because you have to do something next. As long as this matter is successful, those three extreme weapons won't be in the mood to care about things here. There is an extremely unusual place in the Nether Sky continent. There is something buried there. If you tear a corner of the seal there, the three extreme grade weapons will panic. They will definitely suppress that thing with all their strength, so they won't come out." "What is it?" Yao Guang asked. Nine Firmament Quasi-Emperor smiled. "Do as I say." Next, he began to release the news bit by bit to Yao Guang. Yao Guang soared into the sky and flew in a direction of the Nether Sky continent. Nine Firmament Quasi-Emperor didn't tell Yao Guang everything because he had to keep some things to guard against the other party. During this period of time, he realized that Yao Guang's ambition was really too big, and this person was extremely sinister. Last time, he even wanted to devour his soul. Although it was only a part, it was enough to make Nine Firmament Quasi-Emperor terrified. Although he was an expert from tens of thousands of years ago, he couldn't underestimate this young junior. If the other party had the chance, he would probably kill him. So he had to maintain some mystery and unfathomable to intimidate the other party. On the other side, Yao Guang was expressionless, but he harumphed coldly in his heart. "Old bastard, you are actually hiding something from me. Sooner or later, I will devour you." To obtain the true power of a quasi-emperor, the light-shaking realm cultivator did indeed want to devour the other party. After all, even though he was cooperating with the other party, there was still an old monster in his mind that was a threat. If he could devour the other party, the threat would be gone, and he could even grow stronger. It could be said that he was killing two birds with one stone. However, he knew that now was not the time to make a move. He would only make his move when he was at least 70% confident. Right now, he only had a 30% chance of success, which was too little. The Nether Sky continent was extremely vast. The Astrolite Society used the Gu clan's theurgy art, and when they used Void theurgy art, they appeared and disappeared unpredictably. He could travel any further with Void banishment and space folding. Finally, he arrived at a mountain range. It was very peaceful here. It was terrifyingly quiet. Yao Guang frowned. That's not right. There wasn't even a single demonic beast. What was going on? The situation didn't seem right. Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao said with a smile. Have you noticed? Do you see a valley in this mountain range? There is no movement there. Don't go to that valley. Just break one of its formations near the valley. What is this place? What kind of valley is this? Why is it so strange? Yao Guang asked with a frown. Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao smiled mysteriously. You go first. Yao Guang snorted coldly, feeling unhappy. However, in order to deal with Lin Wudi, she didn't care anymore. He landed outside the valley and attacked the ground. He tore the ground apart. There was actually a stone tablet under the ground. A stone turtle was holding a stone tablet. It was very ancient. It was unknown when it was buried here. What should I do next? Yao Guang asked. Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao smiled mysteriously. Her soul flew out. He didn't tell Yao Guang the method, but did it himself. After using his soul to investigate, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. It seems that my guess is similar. This stone tablet is about to shatter. Even if we don't make a move, it will definitely shatter in 100 years. Now I want to bring it forward 100 years. At this point, he waved his hand, and 5 mysterious runes appeared on the palm of his soul. This was also a kind of formation. Using a formation to break a formation, it was unfathomable. Yao Guang's pupils constricted. It had devoured countless experts, and among them were formation masters. His attainments in formations were also very strong. But now he couldn't understand it. Damn it, this was the difference between him and a quasi-emperor. In the next moment, there was a rumbling sound on the stone tablet, and cracks appeared. Then it broke in half from the middle. Great. Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao smiled. 100 years had been brought forward. This time, there would be a show to watch. After saying that, he quickly returned to Yao Guang's body. He used the void ability to transport the broken half of the stone tablet into the universe. As far as possible, don't let anyone find it. At the same time, run quickly. Yao Guang frowned. He still had a lot of questions that he wanted to ask. But in the next moment he turned and ran. With a wave of his hand, the power of space wrapped around the broken stone tablet and disappeared with it. In the next moment, in the uninhabited valley ahead, there was a shrill scream. Then the surrounding 9 heavens and 10 earths all shattered. Yao Guang used her space ability to the extreme, but he was injured. Damn it! A voice injured him. If he hadn't become a new chaos physique and ran quickly, he would probably have died there. Damn old thing, you didn't tell me that it was so dangerous. Yao Guang was angry. A valley that looked a little strange, but he didn't care about it, was actually so terrifying. What kind of power was that? One had to know that he was very close to the Triple Crown. But when he heard the remaining power of the voice, he was almost scared to death. This was a forbidden land for life. Quasi-Emperor Jiao Shao smiled. At this moment, they had already arrived in the outer universe. He said, "You guessed right, it's a forbidden land for life. It's the same as Mount Eternal, a forbidden land for death. That valley is called the Valley of No Return. There is also an incredible existence inside." When this thing appeared, the 3 extreme weapons of the extreme Dao world panicked. They will definitely come to suppress it. So you have to do 2 things now. Quickly transport the broken stone tablet to a place. Don't think about destroying it. You can't destroy it. Only the power of time can destroy it. You just have to make it so that others can't find it. Then, take this opportunity to go back and kill Lin Wudi. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.